There comes a time in life when you have to make a decision. Either keep carrying the weight of your worries, doubts, and fears, or finally put them down and walk free. Too many people are weighed down by things they were never meant to carry. Pain from the past, fear of the future, regrets over things that cannot be changed. We carry anger toward those who have wronged us, guilt over our own mistakes, and anxiety about things that haven't even happened yet. And all of it is weighing us down, stealing our joy, robbing us of peace. Imagine walking through life with a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents something: a past mistake, a broken relationship, a failure, a rejection. Maybe one rock is fear, fear of not being good enough, fear of stepping out in faith, fear of the unknown. Another rock is regret, wishing you had done things differently, spoken up when you were silent, or made a better choice. And then there's the rock of anger, one of the heaviest ones, weighing down your spirit as you hold on to resentment towards someone who hurt you. Now, picture someone walking beside you, telling you, "You don't have to carry that anymore. Give it to me." That's what God is saying. He's not asking you to figure everything out. He's not waiting for you to be perfect. He's simply asking you to let go, to surrender what you can't control, and trust that He's got you. But too often we hold on. We grip that weight so tightly because we think if we let it go, we'll lose control. The truth is, we were never in control to begin with. Holding on to fear doesn't prevent bad things from happening. Holding on to anger doesn't make justice come any faster. Holding on to regret doesn't change the past. The only thing these burdens do is keep us stuck. So how do you release the burden? First, you have to acknowledge what you're carrying. Sometimes we don't even realize how heavy our hearts are until we pause and reflect. Maybe you've been walking around with stress, anger, or pain for so long that it feels normal. But that's not the life you were meant to live. You were meant to walk in freedom, in peace, in faith. Next, you have to make a choice. Letting go isn't just an emotional release, it's a decision. It's waking up every morning and saying, "I refuse to carry what's not mine. I refuse to let my past define my future. I refuse to let fear steal my purpose." This isn't easy. Sometimes the things we need to let go of are the very things we've built our identity around. But when you let go, you make room for something greater. And finally, you have to trust. Trust that when you release the burden, God will take care of what you can't. Trust that even if you don't see the whole picture, every piece is falling into place. Trust that peace is possible, even in the middle of uncertainty. Some of you have been carrying burdens for years, maybe even decades. But today, you have a choice. You can keep holding on, keep struggling under the weight, or you can open your hands, lift your head, and walk in faith. Let go. Trust God. Freedom is waiting. Fear is one of the greatest barriers to living the life you were created for. It sneaks in, whispers doubts, and convinces you that you're not capable, not strong enough, not worthy. It tells you to stay where it's safe, to avoid risks, to not step out in faith because you might fail. Fear has a way of trapping you in the worst version of yourself, making you believe that you are powerless to change your circumstances. But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. Fear will tell you that you don't have what it takes, but faith will remind you that you are already equipped. Fear will convince you that you are alone, but faith will show you that you are never abandoned. Fear will keep you looking at the size of the storm, but faith will shift your eyes to the one who calms the storm. Fear will always try to limit you, but faith sets you free. Too often, people live their lives ruled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and situations that break them because fear tells them, at least you know what to expect. Fear wants you to settle for less than what you were meant for. It keeps you comfortable but unfulfilled, safe but stuck. But faith is different. Faith pushes you forward even when you don't see the whole path. Faith reminds you that you don't have to have it all figured out to take the first step. Faith gives you the courage to walk into the unknown, trusting that every step is leading you somewhere greater. Faith says, I don't know how, but I know who. And when you put your trust in God, when you believe that His plan is bigger than your fear, you start to realize that fear has no real power unless you give it power. Think about the times in your life when fear kept you from doing something great. Maybe it stopped you from going after a dream, from speaking up when you should have, from taking an opportunity that could have changed your life. Now think about what would have happened if you had trusted instead of hesitated. How different would your life look? Fear is natural. It's part of being human. But what you do with that fear is what defines your future. You can let it control you, or you can choose to rise above it. Choosing faith doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you won't let fear stop you. It means you walk forward, even with shaky hands and uncertain steps, knowing that you are being led by something greater than fear. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every blessing begins with a moment of faith. It's that split second when you decide that fear doesn't get to win. It's when you say, I don't know how this will turn out, but I trust that I'm not walking alone. So ask yourself, what are you afraid of? What has fear been keeping you from? And more importantly, what would happen if you chose faith instead? Would you take that risk? Would you step into your calling? Would you finally let go of the doubt and believe that you are capable, that you are enough, that you are exactly where you are meant to be? Fear will always be there, knocking at your door, but faith is the key that lets you walk through it anyway. You were not created to live in fear. You were created to walk in faith, in purpose, in confidence. Fear is temporary, but faith leads to a future far greater than anything you could ever imagine. The choice is yours, fear or faith. One keeps you trapped, the other sets you free. Choose wisely. There is something powerful about shifting your perspective from what's missing to what's present, from what's wrong to what's right. Gratitude has the ability to transform the way you see your life, even when nothing around you changes. It's easy to get caught up in what's not going right, the struggles, the disappointments, the setbacks. It's easy to focus on what you don't have, what you haven't achieved, what's still out of reach. But when you shift your focus to what you do have, something changes inside you. Life isn't perfect. Challenges will come and pain is inevitable. But no matter how dark things may seem, there is always something to be grateful for. The breath in your lungs, the roof over your head, the people in your life, the lessons you've learned, the second chances you've been given. These are gifts. Yet too often we overlook them because we're so focused on what's next, on what we think we lack. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when something good happens. It's a mindset. It's a way of seeing the world that allows you to find light even in the darkest places. It's easy to be grateful when everything is going well, but true gratitude is found in the moments when life is challenging. It's looking at a difficult situation and saying, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that there is something to be learned here. It's facing hardship and choosing to focus on what's still good instead of what's going wrong. When you live in gratitude, you stop focusing on what you lack and start appreciating what you already have. And here's the thing, gratitude multiplies. The more you focus on the good, the more good you begin to see. Your problems don't necessarily disappear, but your perspective on them changes. What once seemed impossible now seems like an opportunity to grow. What once felt like a burden now feels like a lesson in strength. So many people spend their lives waiting for the next big thing to make them happy. They think, When I get that job, when I find that relationship, when I make more money, then I'll be happy. But if you can't find gratitude where you are right now, you won't find it in the next achievement, the next paycheck, or the next milestone. Happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from appreciating what you already have. Gratitude also has a way of shifting your relationships. When you start focusing on what you appreciate about the people around you instead of what frustrates you, your connections deepen. When you take a moment to acknowledge the kindness of a stranger, the love of a friend, or the support of a family member, you create more moments of connection and joy. And gratitude isn't just something that benefits you, it spreads. When you live in gratitude, you inspire others to do the same. A simple thank you can change someone's day. A moment of appreciation can remind someone of their worth. Gratitude has a ripple effect, touching not just your life, but the lives of those around you. So, no matter what you're going through, take a moment to pause, look around you, find one thing, just one thing to be grateful for. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's the sunshine on your face, the laughter of a loved one, or the fact that you made it through another day. Hold on to that feeling. Let it remind you that even in the midst of struggle, there is still beauty. Because when you live in gratitude, you don't just change your mindset, you change your life. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, but it can also be your greatest enemy. Every single day, thoughts enter your mind. Some build you up, others tear you down. Some push you forward, others hold you back. The real battle isn't happening in the world around you, it's happening inside your own head. Doubt, fear, insecurity, worry. These are the weapons the enemy uses against you. They creep into your mind, planting seeds of negativity, making you question yourself, your worth, your purpose. You hear whispers saying, "You're not good enough. You'll never make it. You're too broken, too weak, too far gone." And if you're not careful, you start believing those lies. You start living your life based on fear instead of faith, based on insecurity instead of confidence. But here's the truth. You have the power to take control of your mind. You may not be able to stop every negative thought from coming, but you can decide which ones you allow to stay. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean you have to accept it. You can reject the lies and replace them with truth. Think about it. When you plant a seed in the ground, what happens? It grows. The same thing happens with the thoughts in your mind. The more you water negative thoughts, the stronger they become. The more you dwell on fear, the more fear controls you. But when you feed your mind with faith, with hope, with truth, that's what grows. The battle is constant. You wake up every day with a choice. Will I let my thoughts control me, or will I take control of my thoughts? Will I focus on what I lack, or will I focus on what I have? Will I let fear dictate my actions, or will I move forward in faith? Many people are trapped, not by their circumstances, but by their own mindset. They tell themselves, "I'll never change. This is just the way life is. Things will never get better." And because they believe it, they stay stuck. But the moment you shift your mindset, you shift your life. When you wake up in the morning, instead of letting stress take over, start your day with gratitude. Instead of focusing on your problems, focus on solutions. Instead of believing the worst about yourself, start speaking life over yourself. Words have power, and the words you speak over yourself shape your reality. If you keep saying, "I'm not smart enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not worthy enough," you start living like it's true. But the moment you start saying, "I am strong, I am capable, I am worthy, I am chosen, I am enough," your life begins to shift. It won't happen overnight. It takes work, discipline, and intentional effort to rewire your thinking. But every time you choose faith over fear, every time you replace doubt with belief, every time you silence negativity with truth, you are winning the battle. The enemy wants you to stay stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, but you were never meant to live in that prison. You were meant to walk in freedom, in purpose, in confidence. Your mind is your battlefield, and victory starts the moment you decide to take control. So guard your thoughts, choose what you focus on, speak life over yourself, because when you master your mind, you unlock the power to live the life you were created for. Failure is something we all experience, yet so many people allow it to define them. They see failure as the end of the road, as proof that they weren't good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. But failure is not final. It's not a dead end. It's a detour. It's not a life sentence. It's a lesson. Every person who has ever achieved something great has faced failure. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is how they respond to it. Some let failure break them, while others use it as fuel to push forward. The truth is, failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's a part of the process. It's a stepping stone, not a stopping point. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't take one step, fall, and decide, well, I guess walking isn't for me. No, they get back up, try again, and keep going until they master it. But somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we start believing the lie that falling means we should quit. We start thinking that if we fail, it means we aren't meant to succeed. That couldn't be further from the truth. Failure isn't what holds people back. Fear of failure does. The fear of looking foolish, the fear of rejection, the fear of trying and not succeeding. But what if the very thing you fear is the thing that will lead you to your breakthrough? What if the mistake you're afraid to make is actually the lesson you need to learn? The most successful people in the world didn't get there without failure. They failed big, they failed often, but they didn't let it stop them. They understood that failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of success. When you fail, you have a choice. You can either let it define you, or you can let it refine you. You can dwell on what went wrong, or you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? Because every failure carries a lesson, and those lessons make you stronger, wiser, and better prepared for what's ahead. Sometimes, failure is life's way of redirecting you. Maybe that opportunity didn't work out because something better is coming. Maybe that door closed because you were meant to walk through a different one. Maybe that setback is setting you up for a comeback. Look at some of the greatest success stories. People who failed before they ever made it. There were authors whose books were rejected dozens of times before becoming bestsellers. There were entrepreneurs who went bankrupt before building billion-dollar companies. There were athletes who lost over and over again before finally winning championships. The reason they succeeded wasn't because they never failed. It was because they refused to quit. And that's the key. Keep going, keep pushing, keep believing. Your failure today does not determine your success tomorrow. Your mistakes do not cancel out your purpose. Your setbacks do not erase your potential. The only way failure becomes final is if you stop trying. But as long as you keep moving forward, as long as you keep learning and growing, failure is nothing more than a chapter in your story, not the whole book. So pick yourself up, dust yourself off, remind yourself that you are stronger than your failures. And no matter how many times you fall, promise yourself one thing: you will always rise again. Life has a way of throwing us curveballs. Unexpected challenges, disappointments, and situations that seem impossible to navigate. In those moments, it's easy to focus on what we see around us, the obstacles, the struggles, the uncertainties. Our eyes can deceive us, leading us to believe that the road ahead is too tough, that the dream is out of reach, or that the end is near. But we are called to walk by faith, not by sight. Walking by sight means relying on what we can see, hear, and touch. It's about trusting our circumstances and allowing what's happening around us to dictate our actions. But faith doesn't rely on what's visible. Faith is about trusting in what's unseen, believing in the things we can't yet grasp, knowing that God is working even when we can't see it. When you walk by faith, you choose to move forward, even when everything in your current situation tells you to stop. You don't wait for all the pieces to fall perfectly into place before you take a step. Faith says, even though I don't know what the next chapter holds, I believe that it will lead me exactly where I'm supposed to be. Faith doesn't need proof, it needs trust. It trusts that even in the darkest of moments, light is coming. It trusts that when you don't know the way, you are still being led. We've all had times when doubt crept in, when fear set in, and when the future seemed unclear. It's easy to look at the obstacles in front of us and wonder how we'll overcome them. It's easy to feel defeated by what we see, especially when the end goal seems so far away. But faith doesn't operate in the realm of what we can see. It operates in the realm of what we believe. Think about the moments in your life when you've taken a leap of faith, when you've stepped out into the unknown. Maybe it was a new job, a new relationship, or a new chapter of your life. In those moments, you didn't have all the answers. You didn't know how it would turn out, but you trusted that the journey would be worth it. And looking back, you can see that each step of faith led you to where you are now. Walking by faith doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means acknowledging it and choosing to trust God anyway. It means knowing that even when things don't look like they're going your way, God is still in control. Your circumstances don't dictate your outcome. What you see right now may not be the full picture, but what you don't see, the work that God is doing behind the scenes, is just as real, if not more. When you walk by sight, you can easily get discouraged. You can look at what's in front of you and feel like it's too much to handle. But walking by faith means you trust that God's plan is bigger than your current situation. You trust that your setbacks are not the end of the story, they're just part of the journey. You may not know how things will unfold. You may not have all the answers. But walking by faith means choosing to believe that the path is already laid out for you, even when you can't see it yet. It means taking the next step with the assurance that you are never walking alone. So no matter where you are today, no matter what challenges you're facing, remember this: you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how it's going to work out. All you need is faith. Faith that God's timing is perfect. Faith that His plan is good. Faith that every step you take is one step closer to where you're meant to be. Trust in the unseen. Trust that God is working things out even when you can't see it. Walk by faith, not by sight. Because when you walk by faith, you walk with purpose, with confidence, and with the assurance that the best is yet to come.